John lived quietly, a devoted father, a hard-working neighbor. A gavel slams, freedom ripped from him, accused falsely. Dark whispers filled the courtroom. Something felt terribly wrong. He could feel life slipping, yet a small spark resisted. What if your world collapsed in a single unfair moment? John watched officers drag him away, his children screaming. His wife's desperate eyes pleading for truth met cold indifference. 20 years of life vanished in an instant. But one detail, overlooked, would ignite a fight no prison could contain. John Matthews was an ordinary man with extraordinary care for those he loved. A devoted father, he woke every morning before dawn, brewing coffee while his children slept. His small apartment smelled faintly of cinnamon and laundry detergent, proof of routines built with love. He worked at a local hardware store, fixing leaky pipes and broken dreams with equal patience. His wife, Emily, often teased him about his stubborn optimism, yet admired the quiet strength he carried through life's endless grind. Weekends were for baseball games, park visits, and laughter echoing through their modest neighborhood. John knew every neighbor by name. He volunteered at the community center, tutoring children in math, sharing stories of perseverance. Life hadn't been easy. As a teen, he'd worked nights to keep the family afloat, feeling the sting of unfairness early. He'd seen favoritism at work, whispers of corruption in local offices, injustice passing for law. But he believed honesty and hard work could withstand anything. That belief became both his armor and his vulnerability. Every smile, every helping hand made him beloved but also visible. A quiet man in a community that trusted him, yet someone about to be tested beyond imagination. Unknown to John, forces were already circling, ready to exploit the smallest mistake. Destiny was bigger than he imagined, and soon the world would turn upside down. The investigation began not with truth, but with coercion. Officers twisted facts, pressured witnesses, and planted evidence to craft a story convenient for their narrative. Every paper, every statement seemed pre-written, designed to condemn rather than uncover reality. John sat in sterile rooms for hours, questions firing like bullets. His words distorted, rewritten, ignored. Prosecutors presented proof that crumbled under scrutiny, yet courts accepted it without pause. The system that promised justice had become a weapon. Neighbors whispered in corners. Some still believed him. Others, swayed by headlines, recoiled. He must be guilty, they muttered, reading carefully edited news reports that painted him as dangerous, untrustworthy. John's children clung to Emily, confused, frightened, learning that the world could betray even the innocent. Despair seeped into every waking hour. Nights were haunted by images of his family's faces, his dreams dissolving in fluorescent-lit cells. Yet in the darkness, resolve took root. He began documenting everything, memorizing details, noting inconsistencies others overlooked. A single truth, however small, could unravel the entire lie. One witness changed their story slightly, enough to hint at something larger. One piece of discarded evidence whispered secrets ignored by authorities. One phone call revealed a discrepancy in police reports. Each tiny revelation was a flicker in a world designed to suffocate hope. Media coverage continued to frame him as guilty, highlighting his criminal record, obscuring 20 years of honest labor. Headlines screamed certainty. They demanded conformity to the false story. Yet John learned patience. The kind born of knowing truth has its own weight. He discovered allies in unexpected places, a retired detective questioning old procedures, a journalist tired of repeating scripted narratives, a lawyer who believed some cases demanded more than procedure. They demanded courage. Every day, the walls of his cell became less of a prison and more of a laboratory. Evidence, inconsistencies, overlooked facts, they were seeds of rebellion. And John knew deep inside, the truth could not stay buried forever. One detail would later change everything, and when it surfaced, it would ignite a fire no institution could smother. The courtroom buzzed with tension, a stage set for judgment rather than justice. Judges leaned forward, pens scratching, faces unreadable. Prosecutors delivered rehearsed narratives, every word sharpened to condemn. Evidence was withheld, witnesses contradicted themselves, yet no one questioned the official story. John sat in the defendant's chair, chains of despair pressing, yet his spine remained unbroken. Emily and the children watched from the gallery, eyes wide, hearts heavy. Whispers of disbelief filled the room. Neighbors, friends, even those who once trusted him. Community faith fractured under the weight of orchestrated lies. Every cross-examination seemed designed to break him further. Every objection ignored. The villainous machinery of the system roared forward, threatening to swallow hope whole. One by one, the false witnesses took the stand. Their statements aligned with police narratives, but small inconsistencies began to surface. Tiny cracks in the facade. John's lawyer pressed, but the court favored spectacle over substance. He was crushed, yet determination glimmered in his eyes. He would not let despair define him. Then a hush fell. A witness stepped forward, unexpected, trembling. Their words contradicted months of coerced statements, hinting at a truth hidden in plain sight. Gas rippled through the courtroom. Even the prosecutors froze, caught off guard by a testimony no one anticipated. The gavel hung poised, tension thick enough to choke on. For the first time, the villain's control wavered. The audience felt it. The walls of deception trembled. But the final verdict had not yet been read, and the next words would either crush all hope or open a door no one could close. The gavel fell. Guilty. 20 years. John's knees buckled under the weight of a life stolen. Crowd murmurs swelled, some sympathetic, most silent, complicit in the theater of injustice. Prosecutors smirked. Officers nodded, as if their victory would last forever. Emily clutched their children, tears streaming, whispers of disbelief turning into quiet vows. "We will fight." John lifted his head, despair tempered by the flicker of resolve. The fight was far from over. Outside, news spread. Headlines hailed "Justice served." But beneath the print, whispers of doubt began to stir. Social media buzzed with outrage, citizens questioning, dissecting, refusing to accept the narrative. The villains celebrated, blind to the cracks forming in their armor, unaware the truth was quietly assembling its forces. John's cell became his sanctuary and command center. Evidence, overlooked details, and faint recollections would soon converge. He knew this was not the end. Injustice had won the battle, but not the war. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of bureaucracy and corruption, one small revelation waited, ready to overturn everything. The prison gates closed behind him with a deafening clang. John's world had been ripped apart, years lost, family scarred, dignity shattered. Even after release, the weight of injustice lingered, pressing on every thought, every step. Nightmares haunted him, replaying false accusations and courtroom betrayals. Yet amidst despair, resistance quietly grew. Each morning he recorded memories, tracked discrepancies, and clung to overlooked evidence. Neighbors who had doubted him now whispered apologies, offering quiet support. Community bonds, once fractured, began to mend. Journalists, inspired by small cracks in the system, began probing deeper. Brave voices emerged, demanding accountability from those who once celebrated his downfall. But danger lingered. Corrupt officials still roamed freely, and every victory felt fragile. One false move could erase progress. Even as hope took root, tension hummed in the background, a reminder that the battle was far from over. Emily stood steadfast, children learning the power of truth and courage. John's fight became theirs too, a shared mission born of pain, perseverance, and love. Each small revelation, each ally gained, moved the story forward, building toward a reckoning that seemed both inevitable and terrifying. The hero had endured heartbreak and humiliation. The system had tried to crush him, but John's resolve refused to break. The hero is down, but the story isn't over. And somewhere, hidden in the folds of deception, the final truth waited, ready to shatter lies and restore what was stolen. John's story wasn't just personal. It was a reflection of a system designed to protect power, not truth. Flawed evidence, coerced testimony, and institutional bias had destroyed countless lives, yet few dared speak. Ordinary people, silenced and scared, were crushed beneath the weight of corruption. But unity began to rise. Neighbors, journalists, and advocates joined forces, piecing together the narrative authorities tried to erase. Each small act of courage chipped away at the walls of deception. The DNA evidence that cleared John revealed more than his innocence. It exposed patterns, failures, and lies. Truth proved fragile, often threatened, yet it endured when people refused to accept injustice silently. This story isn't just one hero, it's all of us. Every voice, every question, every refusal to stay silent can shift the balance between oppression and justice. And when we fight together, lies cannot stand forever. What if it were you, arrested, accused, and condemned without reason? Imagine your family's fear, your life stolen in an instant, and the world turning against you. John's story shows how fragile justice can be, and how courage, persistence, and unity can fight corruption. Share this story. Comment your thoughts. Spread awareness. Demand accountability from those who abuse power. Every voice matters. Every act of attention strengthens the fight for truth. Justice survives only if ordinary people stand together. Don't let silence become complicity. Join the fight and help ensure no story like this is ever forgotten.